Ted Cruz was caught red-handed doing a very corrupt deal. According to a report from the Wall Street Journal, Senator Ted Cruz lent a helping hand to two Texas fracking billionaires by asking for changes to rules that would allow them to acquire a $35 million COVID-19 relief loan aimed at helping struggling businesses stay afloat. The report notes that Texas billionaires Dan and Faris Wilks, they sound like billionaires, were on a buying spree as the coronavirus pandemic spread across the country, buying up bankrupt competitors and investing in others, only to find they were prohibited from taking advantage of the government-backed loan program as one of their many companies struggled. According to the Journal, they then reached out to Cruz for help. Now, they then go on to say the following, quote, soon after the U.S. government changed the rules of its lending program in April, a Wilks family company, ProFrac Holdings LLC, applied for and received a $35 million loan, federal records show. The report notes, before adding, quote, the Wilks brothers are longtime financial backers of Mr. Cruz. The brothers donated $15 million to a super PAC called Keeping the Promise that championed Mr. Cruz's 2016 presidential campaign, making them the largest financial backers of his political career. So, here's what happened. The rules of the loan program were such that it excludes people who are well off, like these Texas fracking billionaires who don't need help. The rules were such that they couldn't get help because they don't need help because they're phenomenally wealthy. And if one of their zillion companies is struggling, okay, better go into that bank account and, grab some capital and shore up your own business, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, some would say. So they didn't need help. That's why they were excluded from the program. But they reached out to Cruz because they know they own Cruz. And Cruz was like, yeah, I'm on it. And so he pulled some strings behind the scenes and he got the provision changed. And now Texas oil billionaires got taxpayer money. So that's corruption. That's corruption is what that is. And that's also corporate socialism. See, Ted Cruz over here likes to pretend, like, me, bro, I'm against government spending because I'm a small government conservative. Well, when it comes to forking over taxpayer money to Texas billionaires who've donated to Ted Cruz's campaign, all of a sudden he's not so principled. All of a sudden he doesn't believe in small government. All of a sudden he's willing to throw taxpayer money around and make it rain. But, listen, this is the way it works, man. This is the way Washington works, and it's totally unacceptable. And you also have Ted Cruz, who pretends to be a populist, pretends to be for the working class now. He saw that this is the shtick that worked with Trump, so he's now trying to do the same thing. Republicans are now the party of workers. Really? What was this move you just pulled? On behalf of your billionaire donors, getting a provision change to give them $35 million in taxpayer money. Is that populist? Is that pro-working class? Not at all. It's just out-and-out corruption. It's out-and-out corruption. So anytime he pretends to be for workers, just remember who this guy is. He's a fraud. He's a fraud. This is a guy, I should note, who's made the argument that we should have unlimited money in politics. Unlimited. Unlimited. Why? Because he says that's freedom of speech. It's freedom of speech for some Texas oil billionaires, Texas fracking billionaires, to give Cruz $15 million to a super PAC for him. He wants them to be able to give $15 million to his campaign as well, not just the super PAC, which is nominally one step removed from him. It's not really removed from him, but that's the way the law works. That's a giant loophole. But he wants unlimited money. He wants it so that if they want to give him $200 million, he could take it. And he says, if you're against this, you're against freedom of speech. That's the argument he makes, because he's a weasel. He's an absolute weasel. One of the most corrupt senators in the country, one of the most corrupt politicians in the country, as he pretends to be holier than thou, pretends to be a deep believer in small government and the free marketplace. He's corrupt, and this flies in the face of that conservative ideology. Remember this. He's a careerist, slimy, weasel climber, and he wants to get in as good as he can with all these donors because he wants to run for president again, and he wants to make sure he has enough money to be competitive. Principles be damned, he'll bathe in the corruption, bathe in the swamp. This is who Ted Cruz is. And are you going to see this story on, say, Fox News, for example, going after Ted Cruz for this, calling him corrupt, pointing out that this actually is not what's supposed to be a conservative ideal? And just so you know, every time there comes, a question about a bailout for you, Ted Cruz is against it. He's against tax money for working Americans who are struggling, people who fell on hard times. But he's for giving tax money to fracking billionaires. That says a lot about this guy.